Here I am on the very location where many supernatural phenomena occurred within the past month. Just 2 weeks ago, video surfaced of what is thought to be the immortal TRIDENT in this very location, roaming around the current roads of Six Men's Village.
Directed by Thomas Burke and Stockton Miller, who wrote the movie, we are talking the Trident, the land we call home, also known as the Barbados Project. And this is a low-budget found footage movie that just runs around an hour, so it's not a long movie. And it's a little bit of a strange found footage film in a lot of ways, because it tries to be a kind of kaiju sort of found footage movie, so it's quite an ambitious feat for such a kind of a low budget film. What is the story? So it obviously takes place in Barbados, and it primarily focuses on two journalists as they are trying to uncover this kind of conspiracy a la kind of the X-Files kind of style government conspiracy involving creatures and stuff, where there appears to be this kind of monster roaming around Barbados that there's been, you know, video footage of, but the government have denied it and say it's fake and etc. And these two guys try to uncover what's kind of going on, and where they lead, well, you have to watch the movie to find out. So let's discuss the Barbados Project. So a very ambitious movie for such a low budget, and actually does a little bit of a different kind of take on a found footage in some ways. You might call it original if you want to look at the positive side of it. We'll come on to maybe the other side of that in a minute, but this kind of takes place, this has footage from different eras, so it's almost a anthology movie in some ways. I mean, 2/3 of it, I would say, is your kind of your A plot. You're focusing on these kind of two journalists, but we do have sections, especially towards the last act, that focuses on other characters, which makes it a little bit different. Even one that's kind of takes place in the future a little bit. So interesting and original in some ways, I would say. What else can I say that maybe works in this movie's favour? Now, one thing I was genuinely impressed with here is the effects involving this kind of monster. Because for such a clearly low budget film, I mean, it's obviously kind of some type of drop-in effect, but it's pretty impressive. And, you know, we have the monster and kind of, you know, actors on screen at the same time, and I was quite impressed with it, I have to be honest. I mean, the creature design looks pretty good. It actually is rendered fairly well. And, you know, I was surprised how much screen time this thing actually got in full kind of glory as well. So in that side of stuff, I mean, it's kind of in darkness a lot, which is obviously to hide the kind of like the rough edges and stuff, but I can forgive that. But yeah, so the effects in regards to the actual creature itself is clearly kind of very impressive, and they've obviously also kind of got footage of emergency services and kind of some type of like bushfire or something to try and then edited that in their film to try and make it kind of part of this story and stuff. So kind of use of stock footage, but it's done relatively kind of well. So, you know, I got to say, there is some cleverness behind the camera here for what was clearly kind of a very, very low budget film. And as I said, the ambition in regards to the story as well is, you know, it has to be commended. But let's now transition to what maybe I think doesn't work. So yeah, lots of ambition, but I gotta say the execution is a little lacking. In fact, more than a little lacking, if I'm being completely honest here. So this movie has a number of issues, in my opinion. So let me just get some of the technical ones out of the way first of all. Now, I've said I like the effects, yeah, in regards to kind of the monster. We do have a few drop-in effects of explosions and stuff, and they're not so good. They look like drop-in effects, but again, I'm a little forgiving with that one. It's a low-budget film. I can kind of forgive that. But this movie has some other technical issues. There is way too much of kind of like this interference kind of you sometimes see on found footage movie, where the camera gets all distorted and the audio goes all funny. There is way too much of that. It's done to the point where we even feel like we get like, you know, 10, 20 seconds of it on the screen. We don't need it. It's so distracting and kind of like horrible kind of screechy sounds, and you know, and they do it kind of all the time. It's very, very irritating and overdone. I get sometimes you want to have like, this interference and stuff or something, but it's overdone. But that's not the end of the technical issues. In fact, it's just the beginning. Now, this is a movie that's shot in Barbados with actors from that area, and they have quite thick accents, so that they're somewhat a little bit hard to understand if you're not from that area. Now, it might not necessarily be a problem on its own. You might be able to kind of like still be okay with it, but the problem is there's other audio issues as well. The movie has a lot of ambient sounds kind of going on in the background, and again, I suppose that's realistic if you want to call it a found footage movie, but it's kind of, you can't really hear what people are saying sometimes. The other thing as well is, again, it's these audio effects. It's kind of like this distortion kind of sound. Again, kind of doesn't help the audio on top of it. And then we have also music in some scenes. I found it incredibly hard to understand the dialogue. And the other thing that goes with this is the actors don't seem like they're actors by profession. Let me just put it like this. Now, I am speculating, but the actors here seem like they are maybe just friends of the filmmakers, and as such the performances are a little muted, and at times we kind of mumble and things like this, and it all adds to this very difficult movie to kind of like listen to in regards to you know, hearing the dialogue. However, let's talk about when we hear the dialogue. I've got to say, it feels like, again, this is speculation, it feels like the directors here have sort of said, oh, say something along the lines of this and kind of like get this point across, rather than kind of having a script necessarily, or having a very loose script and then the actors are having to kind of improvise. But it sounds like these actors don't really know what they're saying. There's sort of conversations here that feel very awkward. Like the actors really don't know how to act in this kind of situation and how to deliver the kind of the point of the dialogue. So again, it makes the acting look very kind of amateurish. Now, if we look at the kind of the story elements here, I think another problem with this movie is there's no kind of build up in regards to the characters. You know, we're thrown kind of straight in with lots of kind of like screens giving you kind of text. We have narrations, and then we just have these kind of characters immediately kind of introduced in investigating this kind of like these kind of situations. We never feel like we kind of get to know the characters. They're just kind of there doing their kind of thing. So you never really feel like you're dealing with, you know, two developed characters. They're just kind of there straight away kind of going, right, let's investigate this giant monster kind of thing, in this kind of like horrible kind of dialogue with kind of crappy distortion effects and kind of stilted, you know, sequences where we went to be kind of communicating information. It's a rough watch, to be honest with you. And there's way too much kind of like, you know, aspects of the kind of these like little info dumps and kind of graphics that kind of come up. That now with a found footage movie, the idea is immersion, really. Kind of, you're meant to believe what you're kind of seeing here. But there's too many kind of graphics and things like that, and little kind of like narrations that kind of go on in the movie. Now we've got to talk about the third act, because it just abandons pretty much our kind of our second, you know, central characters in favour of kind of archive footage from you know, these kind of previous kind of monster encounters. Although I will say, I think there's a sequence where we have a couple in a car, and that was the best acting in the movie. Those two people there sounded legitimate. You know, they acted legitimately like a genuine kind of couple, I will say. And then we kind of have this YouTuber kind of style guy who's, I think, meant to be in the future or something. And it's really, I mean, to be honest with you, some of these YouTubers are pretty fake and annoying, but yeah, it kind of feels like that. And I didn't really feel there was much point to the story, if I'm honest. And we have lots of kind of ideas in regards to where the creature come from. And I gotta say, I kind of liked some of the kind of the ideas that were seeded in regards to the origin of this creature. But it's done in such a kind of way. I mean, we have this expert, for example, And the way he kind of talks is just, you know, it doesn't seem like he knows what he's talking about. And we're meant to believe he's the kind of like the inside man or what have you. And it's just like, yeah, this monster. And you just wouldn't call it that, I don't think, you know. So, yeah, it's kind of an interesting take on found footage. And I was genuinely impressed with the kind of the effects. I think had there been a better movie around that, I think this maybe would have been one to watch. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Jerusalem, which I really enjoyed, to be honest. But that kind of was, to be honest with you, had a far better narrative than this one. Had it started with kind of a bit of better characterization. I mean, to be fair, the movie's only an hour, so you could have a little bit of, you know, reshoots to kind of like have a little bit of kind of characterization, so we kind of get to know our characters a little bit beforehand and edit it in. And this is a pre-screener I saw, so there's still time. And, you know, cut down on these digital effects and audio effects because it's very distracting, takes you out of the movie. As it stands, I'll be honest, this one is a 3 out of 10. I was kind of like, they had some good ideas, but the actual finished project was not a particularly kind of enjoyable or entertaining experience for me. It's 3 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.